doing my donuts. And share share that.
You're online.
Yes.
You don't know if that's good.
No, I don't see Phil. No,
You
sir.
don't see her. Okay.
Let me check.
Got it. Okay, on my clock's 10:02, I'd like to call the meeting to order. If you are participating and watching online and wish to make comments, please use the raise the hand function on Zoom. State your name and address for the record, please. Item number 2, motion approving the minutes of September 8, 2025, meeting of the Midland Development Corporation. Do we have any public comment? I'll call for a motion for approval.
Chairman, on number 2 in the minutes, my name's misspelled.
Thank you.
So now you have a motion to read.
Subject to the
Subject to the
correction spelling of your name. Do I have a second? Yeah, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, item 3, presentation from the City of Midland of Infrastructure Partnership. Jose Ortiz, the city center manager, assistant city manager, will give a presentation on infrastructure partnerships. Thank you, Jose.
Morning, everybody. I know audio wise, do I need to send it a little closer to this or?
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay, I'll do, guess I can't hear. So I appreciate everyone this morning. I just wanted to kind of come in and give you an update on projects we're working on. In fact, we have 2 on the agenda today, one for the Todd Drive water line extension. And then the design efforts for 191 at County Road 1250. So do we have a clicker or?
I'll just tell
Okay,
me.
perfect. We'll go to the next slide. So obviously with our goals of the city, we want to make sure they're aligned with our strategic goals. And so you look at our goals here more in particular, the first one really kind of ties into NBC's goals, and it's looking at strong economies and more quality jobs by bringing infrastructure that attracting businesses to our region. We'll go to the next slide. And I usually go and start off with this heat map. This really does help us at the city kind of thought through what are the priorities of our projects. And so you can see in this heat map, this goes from 2017 to 2023, all the new developments that have taken place. And a great deal of our developments that are taking place are Northeast Midland and then kind of Northwest, West Midland. So this helps us to prioritize projects. What do we need to look at first? And so these 2 projects that you see as items 4 and 5 really complement the growth that we're dealing with. Northeast Midland, you'll see the Todd Drive the overpass and then the water line extension. And then in West Midland, you'll see the overpass design efforts with Kim and Hong. So the next slide kind of shows you a little bit of a close-up between 2020, the current year, the heat map, and all the density and the growth we've seen in Northeast Midland. And so this is the reason why it's becoming more and more important that we look at the Todd Drive corridor. So 349, which is the green line on the west or the left side of the page, MDC partnered with us to get improvements there. And then MDC also worked with us to get improvements at Fairgrounds. All that growth is kind of taking place from Big Spring to Fairgrounds. Now we're seeing a great deal of growth between Fairgrounds and Todd Drive, which is the reason why we're partnering with MDC again to talk about improvements. So you see the little green dot on the south, or really the bottom over to the right, that's the overpass that we just partnered with, and the location of this water line extension. And so once we get that done, that's going to complement all the growth taking place in Northeast Midland. So the next slide will show you that this is our investment at Todd Drive and the overpass. So again, MDC's commitment of $1 million, or just short of $1 million, has yielded a $26 million letting from the state. And TxDOT will start construction next year, probably about April, Mayish. I don't want to overcommit them, but probably in the spring of next year, they'll start construction. By us moving forward and getting this job done and doing the design efforts and donating that to the state, we accelerated this project by about 6 years. And that's conservative. I mean, you can see the timelines. It could have been up to past the 2031. So getting this done really has gone a long ways on getting infrastructure improvements in this region. That's going to be important for our community. So the next slide kind of shows you, once we got that commitment from the state to let, it really became important to us to look at the water line extension. Because if we didn't do it today, and we waited for the overpass to go in, we'd have to bore across the loop. That's about 350 feet of boring. That would have been expensive. Probably could have tripled the cost we have here. So we're looking at about just short of $1.7 million for this water line extension. And what this extension does for us is, if you're familiar with that portion of the city, the existing line ends at Harmony School, the new school that's being built out there. We're going to extend it to the east, get across the loop, where we can do some open trenching, which would be a lot cheaper than boring, and then come across and over to Todd Drive, bring it down Todd Drive a little bit and stub it out of the city limit line. And that's going to open up opportunities for development on both sides of the loop. There are about 400 acres of land that's undeveloped now, but with the water line, the new overpass, the sewer line that's just been extended through there on Cynthia, you have all major infrastructure ready to go to allow for development in this region. So the next slide demonstrates what we looked at 2013. If you look at this, you can see the Midland Country Club, that golf course off of 349. Just on the east side, all we had out there was 349 ranch estates. I mean, there was nothing out there in 2013. And you can see all the vacant land. If you look at the next slide will actually show you how much is developed around 349. So all around 349 ranch estates, all three sides of that has seen new development. So along the 349 corridor, Fairgrounds corridor, and now coming up on Todd Drive. And again, the partnership with MDC to get the infrastructure in place, I think has really helped to generate this development out here. Now, the one thing that's missing is development along the loop. We need opportunities for retail, commercial, office space. So these projects that we have partnered together on will help that. You've seen a lot of activity off Fairgrounds through 250 now. So with all that development, we're in the final stages of constructing Fairgrounds. Because of that, you're starting to see a lot of development interest, which you've seen all the grading take place west of Fairgrounds. And that's going to be really a great development for this region to help serve all these new rooftops that we have in this region. And so the next natural step is Todd Drive. So our goal is not to be reactive to development, but be proactive. And this is allowing us to be proactive. So when we look at the next slide, you can see in the center of that image, a little magenta circle. That's Todd and Loop 250. And so when you look at this, this is not just a simple project that talks about infrastructure improvements for 400 acres. This is really the center of East Midland. And so when you look at what's taking place north of the loop, you have a lot of potential south of the loop. And so by getting this done, now we can extend in either direction, roads and additional water improvements to help this vacant portions of land that can be developed here for the next 10 years. So again, just trying to stay ahead of growth. And so this will also be an image that I'll share with you in the future, because the one thing that we are trying to work on is come up with a rolling plan between the city and the MDC, 3-year CIP plan that's kind of rolling. Every year we'll come to the city or let the MDC talk about different projects because of our commitment and the pledges that the MDC is making towards infrastructure. We want to have an outline of what that looks like so the MDC can see that on a regular basis. But that kind of, again, it's a snapshot of how important this project is for East Midland. And then the next slide will show you what's happening in West Midland. So we'll segue over from the water line extension over to the overpass design efforts with Kinley Horn at 191 and County Road 1250. Again, quite a bit of activity in this region. The new Costco, the preserve, the zoo. You can see all the other developments in the area, the Sewell dealership. And so what's happening here is that we have a tremendous amount of growth, but we really don't have a lot of infrastructure, or our transportation network is not complete. So the goal here is, again, get the designs done. Let's work with the state. Let's mirror what we did when we talked about Todd Drive at the loop. We'll accelerate the project because the state's in no position to do the design work now. The way the MPO process works is you have to go through quite a bit of funding opportunities. Once the funds are identified, then the state will have to start to figure out Well, for us, that's just, we can't wait that long. So we'll do the design work, we'll facilitate that, we'll work with the state, get it completed, and our goal is. We'll certainly work this with Kimley Horn, but our goal is to have plans ready to go on the shelf in 18 months. Similar to what we did on Cod Drive. And at that point, then we can start to put pressure on the state to help us out. So the next slide kind of gives you that outline of what we plan on doing. And so when it comes to TxDOT's letting, for this project, it's already identified in the UTP, but really it's just a planning document. There's no real development of actual construction documents. That's what we're gonna take on. So if we waited on the state, we're looking at 2029 to 2034 before they would have plans ready to go out to construction. So our goal was to have it done in 18 months. They'd be ready to go 2027 or 2028. So again, ahead of that schedule. And that's gonna allow us to start to really focus in on the importance of that corridor, because at the end of the day, the next slide will show what's happening is that just like Todd Drive at the loop, that green line that kind of goes to the middle, going from left to right is 191. That dark line going north and south is 1250. That interchange is the center of what could be the future extension and wide roadways network system that goes north and south. Between Loop 250 and 1788, you do not have a true north-south corridor. And so we need to establish that. And that's what 1250 does for us, is that corridor would actually connect to, it doesn't show on this map, but it'll connect to the Paddock Highway to the north, come south to Briarwood, 158, the back of Toby and Sinclair, past 191, Deauville, eventual extension of Thomason, Anetta, then BI 20, and then tie in at I 20, where you have the overpass now that said just completed about 5 years ago. So this entire corridor is going to be really important for us as Midlanders, because that entire area of the city is going to continue to grow. And again, we want to make sure we're ahead of growth. But all this can't happen until the overpass of 191 takes place. So that's the reason why that's our top priority project, to get the funds, to get that design done. And then everything off of this will start to feed off each other going north and south of 191. So anyhow, I wanted to keep it short. That's everything in a nutshell. Is there any questions about items 4 or 5?
So on item 4, so there's 2 maps. You showed the one where it's just showing the Todd Drive just north of the loop, but then you showed the zigzag.
Yes.
Our project has the zigzag.
For this one. Yes,
Okay.
sir. So that's what this resolution is for, is to fund that zigzag. Really what it is, it's just a crossing of 250.
Okay.
It's seizing an opportunity to do that now before they go to construction with their project being the state.
Okay.
I also want to point out that this isn't new to the NBC. Y'all put almost $1 million for a study that then was able to get us $32 million. That includes not only Todd Road, but also some dollars for Watling. And so those 2 projects got moved up respectively 6 years and 4 years. So Todd Road got moved up 6 years because of your contribution. So I wanted to point that out and as a reminder, and the $32 million that were obtained from TxDOT for those 2 projects is significant. And
Yeah.
so this is infrastructure that actually is going to save us $2 million to do ahead of the TxDOT project as opposed to afterwards. So this also saved an additional 2 million. So really, the NBC's involvement total is $34 million that's benefit to the community and to the city. So the $32 million we got directly from TxDOT, and the 2 million that'll be saved by doing this ahead of the TxDOT improvements.
I appreciate everything up, Tommy, because that's exactly what's happening. In fact, this month, those 2 of the projects that Thomas making reference to, the 2 intersections at 158, the state's gonna let that this month. So again, those are dollars that the MDC helped us out with contributing towards planning and development of those plans. 158, it's important to us, when you look at the state, they're looking at major corridors. I mean, they're talking about 338, Loop 250, I-20. That 158, we just had a really difficult time when we went through the MPO process to rate that high enough to get the state to commit to putting dollars towards that. So we took it upon ourselves, partnered with NBC. Okay, you know what? It's important to us. We'll facilitate with sign uppers with NBC dollars to get those 2 intersections done. And because we got them done and on the shelf, you know, again, the councilwoman helped us with this. Other council members were engaged in working with the state to help us to get those projects accelerated, that it actually worked. And so they're gonna let those 2 projects this month. And that's gonna be intersection improvement at Wadley, where it ties on to 158, and then Briarwood at 158, and we're gonna redo those 2 intersections. So this entire corridor being 158 is also equally important to us to make this work, because you see the traffic out there now, we have one lane in each direction, and the traffic's got really bad in this region, that getting those improvements done now will allow us to work with the state to get what.
And open up to 158.
So we're in the last stages working with the preserve. The preserve had to put in a storm drain system. So with all that new growth, they had to widen out the culvert system that was crossing Watford. So they put all the infrastructure in. And so I'm hoping that in the month of now too, that back in the day, NBC also helped with that one as well. So we needed right of way dollars, and the NBC did give us dollars for right of way. So we're able to secure the right of way that allowed us to move forward with the actual design efforts to get that done.
Well, lady, do you see 1250, once you get it going north south, taking some relief off 191 and 250?
Yes, sir. I see that taking relief off of 191, 158, the loop, because now you have a way to go north and south. And that's what's really missing in this area is when you talk about Andrews Highway and all the congestion you see at Midland Drive, it's because that's really one of the only ways to get into town. Once we get 1250 in, it ties into all these different corridors, all that traffic distributes much more evenly through the city. So that's the reason why it's become important to us to talk about right of way acquisition and design efforts. That way the dollars become available and these partnerships show up, we can do this. And the NBC has been a fantastic partner, but because of what the work we're doing here, it's also allowed us to work with the county. Because many of these corridors are in the county, so we can talk to the county, hey, we've done right of way acquisition, we've got designs in place. The county has really come forward and helping out in some of these corridors as well, so.
That comes south off the loop, and will that enable some of those neighborhoods to access water?
It's really good. If we go back to that image, if you don't mind, this one that has that green squiggly line. I think one more. What was another one? Didn't realize how many slides.
You have a lot of slides.
One more. This should do it. There we go.
Okay.
So. So yeah, yes, so this will allow us basically by getting across the loop. Now we have ways to extend to the north and the south. So if anybody wanted to extend off that line, they'll have that right to do that. The good news about us going through this effort is this is probably the most expensive portion of project to developers. And so now it certainly reduces their cost. So if they wanted to tie on to it, we've taken on really the bigger bear of the burden on expenses. It opens up 400 acres of development, but also allows existing residents to tie on to that system.
And on the deal, it says on the map, phase one is the green, so that's the part we're helping you with, and
Yes,
then the phase two, how far down does the phase two go on?
So phase two, we're also talking to landowners that have an interest in developing this area. And so that line could be extended another half a mile to a mile. And then we also have long-term plans at, well, I want to say around the golf course. There's a chance for us to maybe loop that system. But every time we add just a little segment to this, it gives us another opportunity to make that loop. And that other map that I showed you about East Midland, by completing this system over time, that's going to open up a lot of opportunities in East Midland for development, because that's really, when we talk to developers, their biggest burden is infrastructure costs. And for some reason, they just don't feel that, okay, widening the roadway, extending sewer and water is economical enough for them. So by us doing this and actually just working with each of the developers, it's gonna, I think, get them to a point where they're like, you know what, this makes sense, we can make this work, we'll develop this portion of the city. Well, everybody, thank you very much, appreciate it.
Any public comment?
The only other thing I would add is that this is consistent with the mayor and council's strategic plan in getting ahead of growth, keeping up with growth. and trying to manage growth. And that's part of the plan that they put in place. So this speaks to it directly.
Any further comment from the board?
Well, just a question on when it comes to the allotted percentage, I guess, that we had set up for infrastructure. Does this fit within as far as the costs are that budgeted?
Yes, sir. So based on our revenue budget, the 35% for this fiscal year would be 4.9 million, and these two projects together are a little over. So it's within that 35%. There would be additional left of future projects as well.
Any other comment? Okay, thank you. Item 4, resolution authorizing the execution of an economic development agreement with the city of Midland, providing for the construction of certain water infrastructure improvements located and adjacent to State Highway Loop 250 and Todd Road, is authorized by the Texas Local Government Code 501.103 and authorizing payment for said agreement. This agreement commits $1.668754 million to the city of Midland for the construction and installation of the water main infrastructure improvements at Loop 250 and Todd Drive. This project will provide municipal water access to a new commercial and industrial developments in East Midland and is part of the MDC's commitment of 35% for its fiscal year 2024-2025 revenues to infrastructure. Do we have any public comment? Any comment from the
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Number 5, resolution authorizing the execution of a professional service agreement with Kimberly Horn and Associates, Inc. in the amount of $2,099,100 for professional services related to the construction of the interchange at the intersection of County Road 1250 and State Highway 191 and authorizing payment for said agreement. This agreement authorizes $2,099,100 to design the interchange at State Highway 191 and County Road 1250 to TxDOT specifications. Upon completion, these plans will be donated to TxDOT. The mechanism of providing local funding for crucial TxDOT project has successfully accelerated many prior projects. Most recently, the interchange at Todd Road and Loop 250, which was moved forward to 2025 from 2031, thanks to MDC funding its design. This project is part of the NDC's commitment of 35% of its fiscal year 2024-2025 revenues to infrastructure. Do we have any public comment? Any further comment from the board? I'll ask for a motion for approval.
So moved.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Jill, if you can please turn your audio on for the vote so you can be considered present.
You're still muted. Rigorously shake your head up and down.
Unfortunately, we do have to have our audio on.
Okay, can you hear me now?
You do also have to have your camera on.
Well, it says that it's on.
We have a motion for approval on item number 5.
Yes, I'm a yay vote.
Motion approved. We need to go back to 4 and get her vote.
I was a yes on that as well. I was raising my hand, but apparently needed the audio as well.
Yes, we do need the audio and the visual, or else they're absent from the meeting, so we want to go ahead and memorialize the vote for number 4, that would be the best way for us.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on item number 4. Let's do this again. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We have a motion and second, on item number 5. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Item number 6. To the University of Texas for Permian Basin pursuant to that certain incubator and makerspace grant agreement between the Midland Development Corporation and the University of Texas for the Permian Basin. This resolution approves reimbursement for the remainder of the MDC's annual $200,000 commitment to the incubator makerspace at UTPBC building on the Midland campus. The term of the agreement ends in 2037. Do we have any public comment? Any discussion from the board? I'll call for a motion for approval.
So moved.
I'll second.
I'll second.
We have a motion for approval and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carried. Item 7, presentation of the August 2025 Economic Development Activity Report from the Midland Development Corporation Executive Director.
Good morning, board. If you look at your financial statements and the board packet, you will see the income statement and the balance sheet for the month ended August 31st. There were no outstanding disbursements this month. The only thing I would like to draw your attention to is economic development disbursement on line 53905. That includes the quarterly reimbursement to AST for their leases for their leased facilities at the Spaceport Business Park. After they certify that they have met their employment and capital investment obligations, the prior quarter's lease payments are reimbursed to them. So that amount there reflects lease payments for both the facilities at 2901 Enterprise Lane and 2908 Enterprise Lane. Aside from that, on a October and November, and as those are received and reported, that will close out the accrual basis fiscal year. So I'll have that data for you after those are reported to the city by the comptroller. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer. Otherwise, I'll move on to the economic development activity report. The NBC staff team had a table at the Love Midland event on Saturdays to interact with members of the community. It was very well attended time to organize volunteers that then spread out for projects all over the community. We took the advantage to interface with community members, talk to them, share some NBC printed materials. So that was great. We look forward to future events that enable us to talk to community members. So if any of you have ideas in mind for that, I'd be happy to take a staff table and some printed materials out to community events. Happy to do that.
Sure.
And that's all I have for my update.
Okay. Any public comment? Any discussion? All right, we'll move from there into executive session. Item number 8, pursuant to the Texas Government Code 551.101, the Board of Directors will hold an executive session which is closed to the public to discuss the following matters as permitted under the following Texas Government Code section. Section 551.072, deliberations regarding real property. Discuss the purchase, exchange, lease, and value of real property. Section 551.07, deliberation regarding the economic development negotiations. Discuss business prospects that Midland Development Corporation seeks to have, locate, stay, or expand in or near the city of Midland, Texas. Discuss possible incentives and discuss contract compliance on part of businesses.
Okay.